Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Put it on the board! Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks. The filet mignon, of course, the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Hell, even those prime Angus burgers, those half-pound to 1-pound monsters, boy, they're easily the best I've ever had. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! And a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, plus independents from coast to coast, as well as everybody at Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television and Hotel TV from coast to coast as well. Going to jump into baseball right from the very top because we've got a trade deadline that's sort of looming in the pretty near future. And there are teams that have other needs than others, right? Let's follow that one. Other needs than others. Right? But my point in this is that each team has their own needs. Some are power hitters. They're looking for power hitters. They're looking for guys that get on base. They're looking for pitching. They're looking for all kinds of things. But when you look at the Dodgers, they're sort of top-heavy. Their first three, they have MVP, MVP, MVP. But then there's a big drop-off after that. And you have to ask yourself, what exactly are they looking for? Are they looking for someone to set the table? No, they already have table setters. But then again, the top three guys are all capable of hitting home runs. But it's kind of like having your main course, and your main course, but no dessert, if you know what I mean. So as you get down the trough, well, maybe you want to reset the table and, I don't know, go back for a second helping or get you some dessert, do something. But the reality is the top three are producing, but everybody else is sort of sputtering along despite the Dodgers being up several games in first place. Frankly, I don't think that's going to last. So honestly, it's just about getting maybe a shortstop? I don't know. Because that's what, well, MajorLeagueBaseball.com has a article out there that says Dodgers eyeing shortstops at the trade deadline. I think the Dodgers probably should be eyeing the bullpen as well. But anyway, and this is according, again, to MajorLeagueBaseball.com, MLB.com, though the Dodgers are tied for fourth in the majors with 4.94 runs scored per game, basically 5 runs a game, the club still looks to upgrade its offense prior to the trade deadline, according to Fox Sports. And the reason this is an issue is usually 5 runs is plenty to win a game. The problem is the Dodgers don't really have bullpen, so they can't really protect the lead. Now, specifically, the Dodgers are likely to seek a shortstop that they can move Mookie Betts back to second base where he's a better defender and replace Gavin Lux, who has hit just abysmal .216. So he's one of those draft picks that have just kind of fizzled. And the Dodgers really put a lot of stock into Gavin Lux, but he just hasn't really done it. So yeah, they're looking for someone to maybe produce at that position, but honestly, defense is sort of a big deal. Gavin Lux does make some errors as well. So the problem for LA is that 2 of his preferred shortstops, and they're targeting Bo Bichette from the Jays and Willy Adames from the Brewers. They might not be available. So Toronto was mentioned as a potential seller after getting off to a really bad start this season. But of course, they've been playing better as of late, going I don't know, playing 667 ball, so to say, in its past handful of games to improve its standing in the AL wildcard picture, whatever. That doesn't really matter right now, but at the end of the day, they're not going to sell Vladdy. There's no way they're going to sell Vladdy. They're going to have to really get an enormous haul on the way back. So the Blue Jays entered today's game just a few games out of the race, but if they're within striking distance of a playoff position, maybe, I don't know, in about 5-6 weeks, it's unlikely they're going to trade Bo Bichette, and frankly, I don't think they're going to. And of course, Vladdy Guerrero, both of them who are eligible for free agency next season. I don't think the Dodgers are going to get their hands on either one of those guys. Dodgers are targeting somebody else. We'll get to that in a bit. And Willy Adames can be a free agent at the end of the current campaign, so there's more urgency to trade him than Bichette or Guerrero. However, he's a very important part of the first-place Milwaukee Brewers. Now, of course, while the Brewers have shown a willingness in the past to trade away top players in the midst of a postseason, kind of like with Josh Hader a couple of years ago, it would still be surprising to see the Brewers deal Willie this summer and risk hurting team morale. I don't think they're going to do it, honestly. Anyway, if Bo Bichette and Willy Adames are off the table, the Dodgers' best option at shortstop could be Paul DeJong, who has produced 12 homers for my beloved last-place White Sox. But Paul DeJong is playing very, very well. He's only 30. He's only signed to a very small one-year deal, so that may actually be the best path for the Dodgers to go as far as the shortstop position. Now, of course, the White Sox are actively seeking trade packages, as reported, for Luis Robert Jr., of course, and that deserves a chorus of boos because that's really the only position player that the White Sox have that's really worth anything right now because they're in a complete teardown and rebuild. So the White Sox apparently aren't waiting for the trade deadline to shop their best players. According to MLB Network, in an article for the New York Post, Chicago is actively seeking packages for center fielder Luis Robert Jr., who recently returned from the injured list. I know I have him on my fantasy baseball team, and I had to wait about 7 weeks for this guy to get off that list, but he's only 26, and he is a good one. He is a real five-tool player, and he is signed through next year, and the team has an option for the following year. So the great news, actually for the following 2 years. So Robert is a very friendly contract, and his extensive injury history is a drawback, but offers a very dynamic skill set and has shown the last year when he produced 38 homers, 20 steals on offense and was one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. So in the midst of that 14-game losing streak that the White Sox have, unfortunately, they have dropped to a major league worst. They have no untouchables in trade talks, according to the four-letter network. Now, that has been reported several times over several networks and outlets. Nonetheless, even budding ace Garrett Crochet, now this is a very good lefty. Man, this guy's really got it. Anyway, this guy, he's only 24, and he is controllable through the year, but appears to be available with the Padres reportedly showing interest. So the Padres, of course, they just picked up Dylan Cease from the White Sox right before the start of the season, which was their ace. And now they'll take their other ace, potentially, in Garrett Crochet, which, of course, would be tragic because now they're going to become the San Diego White Sox. And I got to root for those guys. But honestly, you get to a point where you're like, geez, I mean, what else are you going to deal off? And you kind of wonder, where does it end? Or does it ever end? Anyway, it's unclear which team might have interest in Luis Robert Jr., though Heyman mentions the Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Royals among the contenders who need outfielders. Now, I'm going to take that a step further because I would believe the Chicago Cubs are a player for Luis Robert Jr. so they could put Cody Bellinger back at first base. Although he has an incredible glove, he's better suited at first base. I would also argue that the New York Metropolitans may have an interest as well. Add another big bat with Pete Alonso, and let's face it, if the Mets aren't really doing much, then Pete Alonso might become available. But I would also argue that there are a couple of other teams that could use the services of Luis Robert Jr. One of those might be Seattle. Another one may be San Francisco. So I'm not really sure which direction they're going to go, but it sure seems to me that a handful of teams, the Atlanta Braves, let's face it, with the loss of Ronald Acuna Jr., if they could put Luis Robert out there in center field, now you have a bona fide replacement for Ronald Acuna Jr., and that makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. And the Braves have a lot of pieces to deal, and namely pitching, because the Braves are usually quite heavy in pitching. So that's a very, very good situation for the White Sox. I mean, hell, Chris Sale, former White Sox pitcher, is in the starting rotation for the Atlanta Braves. Of course, that was by way of Boston. It seems like the White Sox superstars are all over the league, and once upon a time, in the not-so-distant past, they had a very, very good squad. But honestly, there are many teams that could use the services of Luis Robert Jr., and the White Sox are going to get a huge haul back unless Chris Getz, their general manager, tends to blow that one up. I'm not really sure, but you know, that's a whole nother discussion. In fact, when we come back from break, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into the crosstown rival Chicago Cubs and see what's on their mind, because it appears that they are prioritizing home run power at the trade deadline. Of course, that's possibly where Luis Robert fits in, and maybe a few other players as well. So, folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. We're going to stick with baseball and maybe talk some football afterwards, but we're going to jump into some stadium dialogue, of course, right after the baseball free agent rumors and signings, etc. So don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Back in a few minutes with your Ringmaster Sal.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, maybe you want to host your own show. Maybe you want to host your own podcast. Maybe you want to be a radio star, a TV star, whatever it is. Think about this. A lot of people, like 3 million people out there, are doing their own shows today, but they haven't been trained on how to speak into a microphone. They're not professionally producing their content. They're not professionally distributing their content. So a lot of people will do their lives on, pick your favorite platform, maybe a live video on Instagram Live or Facebook or whatnot, and they're missing the opportunity to make a buck with it. Now, if you're so inclined to make a dollar with, if you're looking to make a dollar with some content, you think you're pretty good at it, or if you just want to be developed on how to do it, listen, folks, check out AMP TV. Contact AMP TV, which is all ages media programming television, at info@aamp.tv. info@aamp.tv. They can help you with production, broadcasting, editing, distribution of your content to radio and television shows around the country. And it's primarily North America in which AMP TV works. If you want to stream on other services, you're welcome to stream on other services. But for real sponsorships, for real money-making opportunities with your own ideas, your own content, that typically comes from television and radio, terrestrial distribution. And that's how those big sponsors are acquired. Pick your favorite automotive companies, your beverage companies, your food companies, etc., etc. So if you want more information, contact AMP TV, aamp.tv at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, and learn how to produce, distribute, broadcast, and edit your own content for your own show, whether it's a podcast, a TV show, a radio show. Guess what, folks? They can help you with all of that. That's pretty damn exciting. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees. Big hello to our friends up and down the West Coast from San Diego all the way up to Seattle, through Denver, all the way down to Texas. Our friends, big hello to our friends down there in Lubbock, Texas on Raider Radio. Yes, KTXT, big hello to them. And of course, our friends throughout Chicagoland and all the way down to Atlanta, Georgia, WDJY 99.1 FM. Everybody listen to us at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday over there, as well as our friends over in Auburn, Alabama. That's WAUD. That's home of the Atlanta Braves. And that's a nice signal that stretches from Montgomery, Alabama, all the way to Columbus, Georgia. Catch us over there, I believe, at 6 p.m. And the reason I'm saying that, folks, is because in different markets, we're on at different times. Even in Honolulu, we're on at, I believe it's, well, now that the clocks have changed, I believe it's 2 p.m. Pacific time, because otherwise it's 3 when it's the other clock. But at the end of the day, we're on all over the place at all different times around these United States of America. Of course, that's a nice thing for us. And of course, everybody watching on television, check your local listings for the Sports Circus, whether it's Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, or WOW Cable Television, and of course in hotels from coast to coast on Hotel TV. And I think it's 600,000 rooms, gaining about 4 million impressions per hour. That is an enormous number. Oh, and by the way, I want to send out a nice extension of hello to our friends over on Facebook at Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure you check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. We talk about all your food favorites. If you like maybe pizza, hot dogs, or Italian beef sandwiches, or who knows, Indian food, or Ethiopian food, or barbecue, soul food, Thai food, Chinese food. Talk about your favorites, and guess what? Post your recipes. Now, it doesn't have to be in Chicago. A lot of our followers, I created this page just because it's fun. We don't get anything for it. But a lot of our followers, they put their cake recipes, their pies, their cookies, their soul food dishes, their pizza recipes, whatever the hell it is. It's a fun page. It's free. Just make sure you like it, you follow it, and participate. Have some fun with it, folks, because that's what we do over here at the Sports Circus. All right, back with baseball now that I burnt your ear on that for just a couple of minutes. And we're talking about the rumors for Major League Baseball, signings, deadline, acquisition targets, etc. Last segment, we talked about Luis Robert and some possible teams that the five-tool center fielder could go to from the Chicago White Sox. And now going across town to the Chicago Cubs, thinking about what they're looking for. And according to MajorLeagueBaseball.com, MLB.com, the Cubs could prioritize home run power at the trade deadline. Of course, enter that Luis Robert conversation, which I left off with. But they also said, MLB.com said, entering today, the Cubs have lost 14 of the last 20, turning what was a half-game deficit in the NL Central into a 6-game deficit between them and the first-place Brujas. Of course, we always give a nice round of applause for Milwaukee every time they're ahead of the Cubs. But Chicago's offense really struggled during this span. And let's face it, they're hitting about 206 with an MLB worst 327 slugging percentage. These guys are just not hitting the damn ball, and they're in a home run hitter's park. And their 16 homers since the beginning of May are tied, yes, with the Chicago White Sox. They're tied with the White Sox, and the White Sox, well, let's face it, folks, they're not really the most offensive-minded team, but they're tied with the White Sox in home run, or I should say a lack thereof productivity. The White Sox are a really bad team, but they're in a complete rebuild, whereas the Cubs are not. And so when you look at the lack of production on the north side of the city, these guys are looking to do something. The Cubs are slugging .372 on the season, which ranks 22nd in the bigs. And their general manager, Jed Hoyer, knows that's an area that needs improvement. They also need bullpen, too. Anyway, so Hoyer said to The Athletic recently, quote, "We need more power to compete. You need to be able to homer at the right times, and you need to be able to score in bunches. And that's something we haven't done, especially early. I'm proud of the fact that in these games, we've rallied late, but in too many games, we've had too few runs scored early in the game, or another starter has one or two hits through 6 innings or whatever. At the end of the day, it's not a good situation. And when you look at what the Cubs haven't done, is they haven't produced. And frankly, they say we haven't hit enough. So if that's the case, if Jed Hoyer says we haven't hit enough, well, the Cubs' top home run hitters, Christopher Morel, I mean, he's a real hit-or-miss kind of guy. And I say that because the guy swings for the fences every time he's up there. He strikes out quite a bit, unfortunately. And I like him. I think Morel's a very good option at third base, but he's got to learn how to hit for contact as well. Cody Bellinger hits home runs as well. Micah Bush hits some home runs. But the reality is, these guys are not hitting that well. And so when you look at guys like Pete Alonso from the Mets, or Vladdy Guerrero from the Blue Jays, maybe even Bo Bichette, are just a few of the high-profile guys that come available on the deadline. But I don't necessarily think that Guerrero and Bichette are going to be available, and I don't really think that the Mets are going to be sellers at the deadline, because that wild card bit is always the bit that people look at. And so the bigger question is, what other teams or options could they be looking at? And so, again, when you look at Jed Hoyer, he says, I believe we're going to hit. If we don't, of course, we'll look at ways to upgrade. Well, and again, that goes back to a guy like who? Luis Robert Jr. He can fit into anyone's plan because he's a 5-tool player. As a position player, that really he hits for power. He's got a great arm. He's got a great glove, and this guy is fast. That's all 5 of the 5-tool players, in case you don't know. And you say, well, wait a minute. What is it that the Cubs can really use besides a hitter? Well, let's face it. If you're not hitting in bunches, you're going to need to do what? You're going to need to pitch, and you need to pitch better. And the Cubs don't have a bullpen. So then again, they look right across town to the Chicago White Sox, who are fire selling everything. And then reportedly, the White Sox are willing to move Garrett Crochet, which I mentioned in the last segment, and Yes, they're willing to deal off Mr. Eric Fedde. So this, according to the four-letter network, and of course, the White Sox have no untouchables. And we're talking about it because these players can fit just about anywhere. And the biggest names on the offer figures could be Garrett Crochet. Again, he's just 24, like we mentioned last segment. And he's available. He's under contract, locked up for the next few years. Now, his first season as a starter, he ended up with a 3.49 ERA with an AL leading 93 strikeouts and 15 walks over 69 and 2/3. Now, this guy's really doing it this season. And, of course, according to The Athletic, Crochet may already have a primary suitor in the form of the Padres, who, as I mentioned last time, who have lost Yu Darvish. Of course, I call him Yu Garbage because I think he's terrible. Anyway, and Darvish has a left groin strain, and they've also lost Joe Musgrove to a right elbow issue. It's constantly inflamed, and I don't think Joe Musgrove's going to be back anytime soon. So Crochet fits in very well with the Padres, and I think that's a really good suitor for him. I don't want to see him go there, but Robert like Crochet could fetch a solid haul, give his age is 26, and he's going to under control for the next few years as well. And Fedde is a 31-year-old righty who signed a 2-year deal with the White Sox in the offseason and rejuvenated his career from Korea, posted a 3.12 ERA with a bunch of strikeouts. And so, listen, they also have hard thrower Michael Kopech, who's controllable all the way through next year, along with Tommy Pham and shortstop Paul DeJong. So, look, the White Sox are going to be dealing, so watch out. You're going to see some early deals. Don't go anywhere. Last more to come here on The Circus. Back in a few minutes. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus TheSportsCircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas from the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure to check out TheSportsCircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are podcasts. They can be found on all platforms such as Apple, Amazon, Audible, Google, Pandora, Spotify, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the partners page at TheSportsCircus.com. And one of those partners that has been with us since the very beginning is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at CSNCoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's CSNCoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. Talking a lot of baseball over here. Also, welcome back to everybody, by the way, on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Thanks for joining us over there as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Actually, there's no subscription. You just like and follow and participate. Have some fun with it. All right, in the last couple segments, talking about trade rumors and signings for Major League Baseball. And I do want to hit upon real quick with the New York Mets. And, of course, multiple general managers expect the Mets to trade Pete Alonso. I'm not so sure that Pete Alonso is going to be dealt. In fact, I think the Mets are going to be buyers. But nonetheless, MLB.com says a year after trading Verlander and Scherzer and Tommy Pham and Marcana and David Robertson, the Mets could be headed for another trade deadline sale, according to them, of course. New York has started out about 10 games under 500 out of the first 60. They're not playing so well. And while that puts the club only 4 games out in the race for the third NL wildcard spot, only 2 teams have a worse record. Look, I don't necessarily believe they're going to be sellers, but we'll carry on here. So the Mets have a number of veterans who are eligible for free agency at the end of the season. Of course, some real possible pickups here. Luis Severino is one of them. I kind of like him. Outfielder Harrison Bader, really like him if he could stay healthy. And, of course, J.D. Martinez, along with even, I believe, was it right? I'm trying to think of his name. He won the batting title a couple of years ago, but he is available, Jeff McNeil. So honestly, I just think they have enough pieces to compete through the year. And let's face it, if it comes down to it, you can let them hit the waiver wire. Somebody else can pick up the salary and call it a day. Now, according to the Four Letter Network, of course, multiple general managers said they expect the Mets to trade Pete Alonso due to the team's competitive balance tax situation. Now, that's a whole nother discussion. But because they are over that balance tax threshold, the Mets would only get a 4th-round pick if Alonso left to sign elsewhere after rejecting a qualifying offer. And of course, Pete is also earning $20 million this year, so dealing him would create a significant tax savings for New York. So the bigger question is, all right, do you go for the playoffs? Is Mr. Cohen going to do that? Or are they just going to fall on their faces and give everybody up? I don't know. The Mets, they don't strike me as a team that really wants to play second fiddle to the New York Yankees, who are rolling in the American League. So I'm not so sure that they're going to be sellers. Now, who is going to be a seller? I believe the Marlins are going to continue on their sale. And of course, the worst move of the year, and ironically, the first move for Peter Bendix was what? To get rid of Luis Ariz. I mean, that in itself was easily the worst move, I believe, in Marlins history. What a boneheaded move by somebody that certainly seems to not know what they're doing. The Marlins, it seems like it's the blind chasing the deaf. And the Marlins, in my opinion, are a team that is in complete disarray. And so according to MLB.com, the Marlins trade of 2-time batting champion Luis Ariz to the Padres on May 4th was indication that the team plans to be aggressive in the trade deadline as a seller in the first year under new general manager Peter Bendix, as I had just said. And of course, with Ariz gone, what a terrible deal. And they paid him $8 million being the Padres. Here, take this guy. We'll pay $8 million for you to take him. How stupid is that? Anyway, with Ariz gone, the spotlight is now on pitcher Jesus Luzardo and, of course, their top remaining trade picks. And, of course, according to the Four Letter Network, the Marlins are expected to trade away at least one starting pitcher, while Braxton Garrett, Ryan Weathers, Trevor Rogers, and Edward Cabrera would all draw interest. None is as valuable as Luzardo from the trade standpoint. And, of course, he owns an unremarkable 4.18 ERA this season, but He has flashes of ace stuff in his career with 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings and 3.57 walks per, or strikeouts per walk ratio, which is pretty damn good. And of course, a 3.59 ERA since the beginning of 2022, and he's only 26 and controlled for the next few years in his contract through 2026. Now, another look, you look at the Astros and you just scratch your head like, what the hell's going on with the Astros? And look, the Astros' direction among the biggest questions is to be answered before the deadline. Let's face it, the Astros have made 7 straight ALCS appearances, but their disappointing start, I mean, look, they're about 10 games under, and they had them really in danger of missing the postseason, which is almost unthinkable if you watched what they've done for the past decade. And of course, these guys are a lot of games out of first place. Seattle is in first place, and it's sort of a dubious lead, but Seattle seems to be the best team in that division. So if the Astros aren't able to turn it around real soon, we could see them opt to sell at the deadline and potentially moving a big bat, potentially in Alex Bregman, and probably, I would imagine, Kyle Tucker easily, and Framber Valdez. These are the two biggest bats on that team. Both were eligible for free agency after next season. And recently, MLB.com broke down 10 pressing questions that need to be answered between now and the trade deadline, which is coming up soon, with the Houston's deadline direction amongst them. And so, look, there's a lot of questions going on in Houston, and we really don't know what's going to happen there. Now, also, think about this. The Orioles could be a player on starting pitching as well. So there's that Garrett Crochet conversation from the Chicago White Sox. And, of course, with the news of John Means going down, Tyler Wells needing surgery, that's season-ending surgery, the Orioles are going to look to make a deal somewhere. And now you ask yourself, where can the Orioles look? Well, they can look to the White Sox like everybody else. But you know where else they could look? They could look to the Angels. Now, the Angels have a very good lefty in their system, and he was up for the last 2 seasons, or a season and a half, and that's lefty Ty Detmers. And I really like this kid. I've had him on and off my fantasy baseball team for the last 2 seasons, and now he was sent down to Salt Lake. But Ty Detmers is legit. He's a strikeout pitcher. He'll take you deep into games, and that could be one place that the Orioles are looking at. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about Detmers as a trade target. But I, frankly, if it was up to me, I know I'd be able to get him for next to nothing. And the Angels seem to be in a conundrum with them. Now, I believe Perry Manassian's doing a very good job with that team. And at the end of the day, I don't necessarily believe that the Angels want to deal Ty Detmers because he is a really strong future. I think he's an ace on that team. I think he's better than anybody else in the starting rotation. But maybe they sent him down to work on some mechanics. I don't know. But either way, I think that the Orioles could be a player for a guy like Ty Detmers. And you look around the league, who else could be available? And you could look to Keller from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yes, the Pirates are in last place. They're not too far off the place, but it seems like the Pirates for the first half of every season, they seem to play competitive baseball and then they drop off. Kind of like the Cincinnati Reds will play competitive baseball for the first half of the season, then they'll drop off. I think the Reds are going to be buyers because they're close enough and they've got some pieces that they could deal off, some good young players, but then you've got the untouchables like the Ellie De La Cruzes. Someday Ellie will learn how to hit an off-speed pitch, and this guy may be a 300 hitter. He may steal 100 bags, maybe score 100 runs on top of it. But there are places that pitching is available. Pittsburgh is one of those places. Pittsburgh's had a couple of good pitchers available. And I also believe if you look up and down the league and around the league, well, you don't have to look very far to find some other available pitchers. And I don't believe the Minnesota Twins are going to be taking first place anytime soon in this division. So I think the Twins are going to be sellers. And so the Royals and the Clevelands, we'll call them that because I want to call them the Indians. I don't want to call them the Guardians. But Cleveland probably will be looking to make an addition as well. And Cleveland's quietly is the second best record in the American League. And these guys are playing damn good ball. In fact, we'll even give them a little round of applause. I mean, I like the way that they're constructed, but I love the way that even guys like Jose Ramirez took a pay cut just to stay with Cleveland because that's where he started his career. He wants to end his career there. And this guy is quietly one of the best third basemen in baseball. He does it all, too. And so Cleveland may be looking for a little bit of bullpen help, even though they've got Emmanuel Clase, who's arguably the best closer in the game. Every team could use bullpen. Every team could use a starter. So watch and see if there are not players made available from the Twins in that same division, because the Royals are probably sitting about 5 or 6 games out the pace. They're going to be looking to buy potentially as well. With that new stadium coming, they just paid $282 million to Bobby Witt Jr., who I think is arguably one of the best players in baseball. But the Kansas City Royals will be buyers as well. So there's going to be some competition out there for all those pitchers, all those power hitters. The Royals are certainly going to be buyers. In fact, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about stadiums. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out TheSportsCircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, and all that. And also, make sure that you visit one of our other partners. Again, we don't get anything for saying this. We just like to say it. It's Al's #1 Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street over in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's #1 Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago. And if you can't get over there for some fantastic food, guess what? You could go to alsbeef.com, alsbeef.com, and you can pick up all your great food favorites and supplies over there. And if you don't want to do that, you can also go to goldbelly.com. That's goldbelly.com, and just search for Al's Beef. Folks, it is great food. I highly recommend it. I get paid nothing for saying this. I'm just saying it because I dig it. You'll dig it too. All of our friends on Chicago Food Favorites like it as well. And our listeners on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates have reported in and said, you know what? Al's #1 Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor is legit. They are the original. They've been around since 1938, and they're still doing it. Boy, that's good stuff. All right, welcome back to everybody. TV, radio, you know who you are. Been talking baseball all show, and we're going to continue on now ranking, according to USA Today, ranking the 5 best and 5 worst Major League Baseball stadiums based on their, yes, Yelp reviews. Yeah, whatever. I would just keep drinking the Kool-Aid, I guess. So, this article came out recently, and USA Today ranked every ballpark in Major League Baseball. Of course, now given that, they have their employees by USA Today, they say that they're obligated to say their rankings are objective. And of course, this is the perfect list. Of course, they say it could not be better, but it still is an objective list. So critics can come together and decide what they believe to be the best or worst ballparks. Of course, I have my own feelings on that too. But what about the people that actually visit those ballparks regularly? And would they know better than anyone whether or not a ballpark is good or not? I don't know about that. This is just spin. That's all this is. But anyway, and they say, USA Today says, as immaculate as most rankings are, they pale in comparison to the thousands of fans who have gone out of their way to detail their experience in ballparks across America online. That said, here are the 5 highest and lowest rated active ballparks in Major League Baseball based on their Yelp reviews. Now, they say coming in, we'll do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 of the best first. They say the number 5 stadium, 5 best stadium, is Wrigley Field. It has a Yelp rating of 4.4 out of 1,715 ratings, and the USA Today rating is number 3. So, we have a little bit of feedback here. So, Ivan C. says, quote, the best baseball field there is, the ambiance is the best, the energy of the game and the crowd, plus the food and atmosphere. Last but not least, the staff was great, very friendly and welcoming. If you appreciate the ball game, you must try for yourself. Go to Wrigley Field at least once and you'll understand. And he says, go Cubs, go. And I say, no Cubs, no, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I can tell you, I have been in that stadium probably 200 times. I was born about 2 miles away from Wrigley Field. Been there many, many games. Yeah, it's kind of a cool stadium, a historic stadium. Of course, I was spoiled, I guess, going there as a kid. And I guess none of these people that give the ratings have had the obstructed view seats where you're sitting right behind one of the big poles in the stadium. And now if you sat behind one of those, you'd say, wait a minute, I can't see a damn thing. But it does say obstructed view seats. And so, yes, you could be sitting right behind one of those big support beams, and you could technically miss half the game. So maybe the home plate area could be blocked. Maybe the outfield could be blocked. You never know. And honestly, there's a lot of spots in that stadium where you can't see the entire stadium anyway. And let's face it, if you're sitting down the right field or left field line, well, you're not going to be able to see your side of the field. You'll miss the corner. It's a blind area. So that's one of the big disadvantages of Wrigley Field. So if you're not sitting literally next to the field, you're going to miss down the line unless you're out in the bleachers. That's a whole nother discussion. But Wrigley Field, yeah, it's a cool park. The food is pretty good. But I would say the staff, now my last experience there, I saw the staff kick 4 people out that were sitting right in front of me, and all they were doing was cheering for the home team. But apparently they were being what? Too noisy. Yes, they said, the Andy Frayne ushers said that they were being too noisy. So I don't know about this Yelp rating. I don't necessarily believe that, oh, yeah, the staff is great and all this other crap. So let's move on. That's enough for Wrigley Field. Coming in number 4 was Oriole Park at Camden Yards for the Baltimore Orioles. Yelp rating at 4.5 out of 812 reviews. The USA Today ranking of 4, which is consistent with, well, I guess what everyone says. And Brian P. left a 5-star review saying, quote, a beautiful ballpark in the heart of a great city. Great city, I don't know about that. In the heart of a great city, went to 2 games while in town. O's won both games. Huge crowds, ample vending of food and goods on all levels. Even in the nosebleed seats we had for the second game, and helpful staff throughout. This is the type of place that reminds us of football fans of why baseball is still America's pastime. We walked here from a nearby hotel, but it seems that parking options were readily available. A great family outing, close quote. All right, well, it's a pretty good review. I'll give them that. I'm not so sure of historically the Orioles. Look, recently, yeah, the Orioles are a good squad, but just a handful of years ago, they were a really bad situation. They were drawing next to nobody. But remember, they've also moved the home run fences back, so there's a lot more extra base hits, and I think the games are a little more exciting there. So we're going to give it up to Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Coming in number 3 was Fenway Park. Yelp rating, same, 4.5. Total reviews, 1,446. USA Today, number 5. And Fenway Park is another one of those old historic parks, and it's a pretty cool park. Anyway, Jason P. left a review on Yelp saying, quote, we're from Connecticut. When my son was around 6, we took him to his first Major League game in Tampa while we were on vacation. The game was indoors. Some fans were peppered around the seats, but it felt dead. I immediately regretted not waiting until we could take him to Fenway. Last night was our first family trip, Major League Sports Pro game since the pandemic, and it was raining, but the game was still 10,000% better than the Rays. And the stadium is so original and classic, the monster, the weird foul line, and the lively surrounding area. How you're packed in with a bunch of great people. Fenway is my favorite stadium. Not sure I even have a second favorite. Close quote, and that's by Jason P. Coming in at number 2 is Oracle Park in San Francisco. And I kind of like this stadium as well. Same Yelp rating of 4.5. Total reviews, 3,216. USA Today ranking number 2. It's a very cool park. The one thing I don't like about it is the female public address announcer. To me, it just seems a little bit odd. But nonetheless, it is a great park. And it's one of my favorite parks as well. And a lot of people like the park. It's in a great location, too. It's easy to maneuver in and out of there, believe it or not. And, of course, Teresa K. left a Yelp review. Says Oracle Park, home to our San Francisco Giants. The views, the food, and our San Francisco Giants never disappoint. As a native San Franciscan, I love bringing out-of-town guests to the game here. Spectacular views, the amazing food choices, which they are. And, of course, our Giants, my favorite, is the Crazy Crab Sandwich and the Ghirardelli ice cream for dessert. And I like the field level seats for a few rows above the dugout between third and home plate. Everybody likes those. Come on, lady. The point is, it's a great ballpark. I really like it. I recommend it too, and it's easily one of my favorites as well. Coming in number 1 as the best park, this may surprise some people, is PNC Park for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yelp rating at 4.6, total review 632. Yelp rating is 1, USA Today rating is 1. And of course, we always like it because our friend at the Sports Circus of Manny Sanguillen, a wonderful, wonderful human, 2-time World Series champion. Manny's got a barbecue place out there at PNC Park. And PNC Park is one of the cool stadiums that you might see around Major League Baseball. It's got the great theme, all the bridges around. Pittsburgh's a really cool city. If you've never been there, folks, you're really missing out. We're going to get into these 5 worst review stadiums real quick here because we're running on time. Coming in number 5 is Rogers Center in Toronto. an abysmal Yelp rating of 3.5, total reviews 339, and of course USA Today ranking of 21. Coming in number 4 was Globe Life Field for the Texas Rangers. That would be the world champion Texas Rangers. Same rating of 3.5, USA Today rating of 22. And coming in number 3 is Lone Depot Park. That would be for the Miami Marlins. Same terrible Yelp rating of 3.5. Only 97 reviews. I think that's because they have maybe 97 fans a game. Come there and watch the game in the first place. I mean, they really don't draw down there. USA Today rating of number 18. Coming in number 2 is Tropicana Field, which was mentioned in a previous review from Fenway Park. It's an indoor... I just think it's an awful stadium. I think it's arguably the worst stadium in Major League Baseball. And of course, they're looking to get a new stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays, which they certainly deserve one. An abysmal Yelp rating of 3.4 out of 443 reviews. Maybe, again, that's the total population per game. USA Today ranking of number 29. And the overall worst Yelp stadium, which I wouldn't really even agree with this. They say it's the Oakland Coliseum for the A's. Yelp rating of 3.2 with over 1,000 reviews. USA Today rating of 30. I'll tell you what. The games at the Oakland Coliseum are more interesting than most other places because of the large foul territory. Yes, you're further away from the field in certain areas, but the games are more defensive-minded. Now, if you're a baseball mind, if you like strategy, Oakland arguably has the best strategy stadium in Major League Baseball. If you like home runs, well, they do hit home runs there, but you see a lot of interesting plays. In fact, we just saw a very strange play with somebody trying to get out of the way from the Toronto Blue Jays of a foul ball, and the pitcher went and was knocked down by, it was actually by Kikuchi, another pitcher, a left-handed pitcher from the Toronto Blue Jays, tried to get out of the way, and he ended up knocking the pitcher down that was going to catch that foul ball in foul territory near the visitor's dugout. But the defensive schemes and the defensive game is actually quite interesting in Oakland. So, and I don't think the food is bad there. I think the parking is ample. I've been to the stadium. It's not a bad stadium at all. But, of course, they're coming down here to Las Vegas, and we're going to have the Las Vegas A's, or the Las Vegas Athletics. They're going to play on the site of the Tropicana Hotel and Casino, which is not necessarily certain that they're going to bulldoze those big hotel buildings. They may keep those buildings and build that big dome around it. It would be a retractable dome or something to the effect. It's going to be a very nice, very, very nice stadium. Anyway, folks, that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, right here from Las Vegas, and we're going to see you in about 23 hours on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517.